Cisco, meet the Cisco. He is Bajor's emissary from the Federation and a modern Starfleet family.
Shut up, Wesley.
There, that was the joke.
Well done.
Well done. Very good.
I should probably work on expanding that song somehow, but yeah. I want to do a whole series of rewrites of Star Trek classic TV theme songs as Star Trek songs, you know?
Well, there was something I heard a few years back where it was songs if they were sung by Vulcans, and they were song titles, and one of them was this celebration is held at my bequest, and I will be morose if I choose to. In place to, it's my party, and I'll cry if I want to.
Yeah.
And then it was one more. These leather moccasins were made for forward locomotion. You know, these boots are made for walking.
Welcome to the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Intrepid podcast, exploring all of your fun fan film favorites. Joining me in the studio today, we have our fearless leader and host and guru extraordinaire, Adam Mullen.
Hello.
And our special guest today is Gary Davis.
Hello.
And I am Bill Allen, a.k.a. the guy in the red shirt. Don't worry about me. I probably won't make it through the whole episode.
Do we have any news?
Trying to think.
It's raining in Ohio. That's the best news I can do.
It's also raining in Maryland, which makes me wonder if maybe there's a whale probe nearby if it's raining everywhere.
It's raining in Oregon.
Oh, see, there you go. It's raining in all three places. Whale probe.
Yep. Who taught Trip Tucker how to dance the two-step? Was it his brother, his sister Elizabeth, his Aunt Millie, or an ancestor of Beverly Crusher? That was submitted by Steve Atwell. All right. Shall we go to the interview?
Sure.
Okay. So, question number 1. When did you first get into Star Trek?
Oh my goodness. You know, I think that was when I was a small kid. We used to go visit my grandmother, who I was back in the 70s, and she had cable. So I was able to watch this Star Trek show, and immediately fell in love with it. And I think I really liked to go see my grandmother a lot. My parents were surprised, and I said, well, I also want to see that Star Trek show. But I was in love with that ever since I was a kid.
So which is your favorite series and film?
My favorite series has to be original series.
Yeah.
You know, there would be no Star Trek franchise without the original series. And my favorite film has got to be Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. I was very, 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 very wowed when Star Trek: The Motion Picture came out, but kind of underwhelmed when it came to substance. And then one day I saw the preview for Star Trek II, and I was just awed. And to this day, I could sit down and just watch the thing from beginning to end.
Mm-hmm. So how does Star Trek Discovery compare to the original series for you?
It's Star Trek. You know, I really enjoy it. I know that it takes a lot of liberties with canon, and it takes a lot of liberties with what's already established, but it's Star Trek. So I really enjoy it. And I like how they throw the homages and the dodge toward the original series and the other series. You know, the list of captains that they put out was just that was a geek moment. And I go, yeah, they listed Captain Decker and Captain Pike. So that was really, really, really good. I think the franchise is in good hands with them. It's not everybody's Trek, but it's Trek. I enjoy it.
So Gary, what about Star Trek inspired you to make your own productions?
Oh, wow. Well, that goes back to 2012. I had a friend of mine named Frank Parker who was involved in making fan films at Farragut, what was at that time Farragut Studios,
Mm-hmm.
and we were in a Star Trek club called Starfleet, and we were at a regional conference of Starfleet, and he goes, Gary, you got to come watch this, and he set up a projector and a laptop, and I saw my first episode of Starship Farragut with John Broughton and company,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just awed. And this was their early production where they only had their bridge, and they did a lot in the on a planet. I think they went back in time, and they got a group of folks who did Revolutionary War reenactments. So the story revolved around them going back in time, meeting George Washington.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought that was the most awesome thing that I'd ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And Frank was just a background character, and helping do the sets at Farragut Studios. And he approached me the next year in 2013 and said, hey, would you like to be involved in a Star Trek fan film? And he says, you can be my XO. And he says, do you happen to have any stories that we could use? And coincidentally, when I was in high school, I used to write a lot of short stories. And I said, yeah, I think I've got a good story that I could alter. And it was called Who Haunts This Ship? And I gave it to Frank, and then he gave it to somebody for a story treatment. And before we knew it, we had Haunted. And it took a lot from my original story, and I was just hooked. When he said I could come down and walk the corridors of these sets. By that time, Farragut Studios had fleshed out where they had the full corridors and all the rooms, and I was just hooked. My very first experience in fan films, you shoot a fan film, or you shoot any film out of order. It doesn't take place the story goes. And they said, well, let's shoot the bridge scene today. And we had 2 scenes, and I got to sit in the captain's chair for 6 hours, and it was the most surreal, awesome experience I've ever had. Even though it was 40 degrees and our noses were running, and it was just it was miserable. It was the best time of my life. And after that, I had the bug. I go, I'd like to do this. This is enjoyable.
And so that's when you came up with Dominion Media?
That came a little bit later. Frank Parker bowed out of the production even before we released the first Haunted. Matter of fact, we also recorded a prequel to that, Anchors Away. So after Frank bowed out and didn't want to be a part of the project anymore, Randy Wren and myself said, hey, well, what do we do? And he says, well, we want to teach ourselves how to do this. And we formed Dominion Media. Mm-hmm. And between the two of us, we had to learn everything. So, we had to learn Adobe Premiere Pro. We had to learn scoring. We had to learn sound. We had to learn editing. And we cut our teeth on Anchors Away and Haunted. That's where Dominion Media started.
So what productions do you currently have being made right now?
We're branching out. We've got audio productions. I mentioned my original story from high school, Who Haunts This Ship? Mm-hmm. So I turned that into an audio drama, and now I'm just calling it The Haunting. And it bears a little resemblance to the Dreadnought Dominion story, but fundamentally it's totally different. So I really wanted to see it produced. So I got some fine actors and actresses to voice the parts, and I've taken all my experience in editing and doing my own rendering for the exteriors and the ships, and I'm turning it into what I call an illustrated audio production. Mm-hmm. So there's a little of eye candy to look at, as well as listening to these great actors and actresses who bring life to lines that I wrote in high school. That was a long time ago. I'm 53. So, I wrote these when I was 16 and 17 years old. Wow. And to hear professional actors and actresses, well, I call them professional. They're just, and saying things that, I've read these things myself, many, many times over the years, and to hear them actually voice it. I was just freaking giddy.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, you got to be awesome. So I've got that, and it's called Excalibur Logs, and so far it's going to be a one-off. I'm not sure if we're going to do another one. I've been working on this for over a year, just redrawing things and rendering things. And then Randy has his own audio production, and he calls it Star Trek Outlaws,
Mm-hmm.
which is an interesting premise where a Q from the Next Generation, he grabs the USS Constellation from the original series right before it goes into the Doomsday Machine, and he throws it across the galaxy, and a group of renegades get it, and he fixes it up, and he has a little Star Trek adventure. So it's a little out of the norm. It's Star Trek, but it's not really Star Trek. It's a bunch of people that have never heard of the Federation, but they're on a Constitution class starship,
Mm-hmm.
Fighting their war against a different empire. So it's really interesting. So Randy, again, he gets a lot of people involved in doing the audio, and it is an illustrated audio production. He draws all the things for that.
Yeah, I've listened to the first couple of episodes of that. I really enjoy it. I kind of like the stories that are they're Star Trek that isn't Star Trek.
Yeah, it's that's the only way to describe it, and it's just interesting. Randy's just really talented. I mean, he just comes up with so many ideas, and so he is the creative writing arm of Dominion Media. And then, of course, we've got Dreadnought Dominion. So we've got several scripts. I think Randy, if he had his way, we'd be producing Dreadnought Dominion for like 10 years. He's got so many scripts. But, we've got one in the pike that we're just waiting for a studio to become available so that we can shoot it. Mm-hmm. And it brings Captain Rousseau, my character, onto the ship as the captain for the first time. But I wanted to do something a little bit different. And what we're doing with this one is it's an homage to fan film creators. And I don't want to throw too many hints on how this is going to work, but it's going to be a little bit different than your normal fan film. And we're hoping to be able to shoot that in the coming months.
And how many episodes of Dreadnought Dominion do you have?
We've got we had 2 episodes and 2 vignettes, and then we've got one more, actually 2 more. We're gonna, because with the fan film production, guidelines, we had to split it in 2. We got 2 more episodes, 15-minute episodes in the works that for sure we want to do.
Okay. So, of all your productions, which one's your favorite?
Oh, my favorite would it have to be Dreadnought Dominion, because what else could be on your favorite? I get to play the captain. I get to sit in the chair. I mean, it's motivated me so much that I'm actually making my own chair. I just reproduced the armrests for that Madison chair a couple weeks ago, so I'm putting the final touches on it. I've made the Madison chair, upholstered it, so that tells you how much I love Dreadnought Dominion, because I need to have that chair in my house so I can sit and I can watch Star Trek in.
Mm-hmm. So your wife Tracy, right?
Yes.
She plays a character in Dreadnought Dominion.
Uh-huh.
What's that like?
It was a surreal. I use that word a lot. Surreal experience for her, because she was never exposed to Star Trek growing up. My wife is deaf, and she growing up, she couldn't watch a lot of programs that didn't have closed caption, and Star Trek was one of those. And now she has a cochlear. When we got married, we were able to get that surgery, so she can hear. And now she watches Star Trek with me. And then when I said, "Hey, we're going to go make Star Trek," she says, "What do you mean we're going to make it?" And she got on the set and wore. She was a nurse in Dreadnought Dominion, the Haunted and Anchors Away. And she loved the outfit. She just worried that it was a little bit too revealing. But she really enjoys it. in it, and now I've drafted her as my communications officer, and like I said, she's deaf, so she speaks very well, but over the years, she's learned pronunciations a lot, especially with the cochlear. So she has a hard time with the technobabble and even hailing frequencies and subspace. So we have to practice a lot, but she really enjoys it.
Well, I really enjoy her performance in Command and Conquer. I thought
Yes.
it was really nice, and your whole part of Command and Conquer was very tongue in cheek. It was funny, and it was very charming.
Oh, thank you so much. We really worked hard and not to try to be too strange, but I wanted to treat that like a classic Mirror episode, but still have some fun with it.
Uh-huh.
I even drafted my younger brother. He was the steely-eyed security officer who was overseeing the agony booth, and growing up, Star Trek just never appealed to him. I was his weird big brother who just liked Star Trek, but I invited him on set, and we had his two kids with us, and they're like 10 and 11, and at first I was worried that they were going to be too distracting, too noisy, but my gosh, they were the most professional people on the set. So they were looking through the camera and they're saying, "Uncle Gary, this is out of focus," and "Uncle Gary, that light needs to be moved." And so I gave them cinematographer and best boy or grip, because they moved things around for them. And their dad really enjoyed it, and he just said, I hope this part comes with Star Trek groupies. So he had a fun time just being a security officer.
That's cool. So what was it like for you playing the Mirror Universe version of your character?
Oh, it was awesome. And my wife made the Mirror uniform for me. Very talented, by hand, not with a sewing machine. And I just tried to get into character as best I could. So I grew out the goatee for a month, and I thought it came out good. And I got the tattoo, and I put the boots on, the tattoo, and you look in the mirror, and I just immediately felt mean. I go, this is awesome. And I'm not an actor by any stretch of the means, but I was trying to play the part a little contrary to how I would respond to people and the facial expressions, and I had a monitor up so I could see what I was doing. Well, see being a relative term without my glasses, but it was fun, and I could see why in real Star Trek they love doing Mirror universe productions, because it's just so fun being bad. Mm-hmm. And just I hope to revisit that, and that universe. I'm not looking forward to growing out that beard again, because I'm a clean shaven kind of guy. But yes, I loved playing my Mirror version.
Do you have an upcoming episode you want to do that takes you back to the Mirror universe?
Not yet. I might throw something in this upcoming production. We're not sure. We're just for a couple seconds. We're just not positive. But yes, I would love to go back and do something. Chain of Command was just. Command and Conquer was just literally a mirror version of Chain of Command. Mm-hmm. That's interesting. And by the way, both those productions came from the mind of Vance Major. Mm-hmm. He's the one who inspired us to do that. He came up with Chain of Command, and then that was my first thing that I actually did some rendering for. So I learned a lot since then. And then he came up. He says, "Hey, do you want to do an Mirror?" And then we said, "Let's just flip Chain of Command over and reshoot it." So that was all his idea, and he motivated me to make that agony booth. And mm-hmm. and my coworker Ryan Rosal was the torturee, and he did a good job agonizing, and we just had a great time with that.
Bill, do you have any questions you would like to ask?
Yeah. Well, first, I just want to say that uh, Haunted, the first Dreadnought Dominion film, was one of the handful of fan films I actually watched before I got into doing this podcast. It was one of the ones I stumbled upon, and I thought it was fantastic.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Um, I figure it would be. I want to talk a little bit about. I know the story was mostly. It was a really well done character piece, but I want to talk a little bit about the dreadnought design you guys used, because
Sure.
it's interesting in and of itself. Your shuttle bay is backwards for starters.
Yes. Yes. So yeah. Yep. That's interesting.
So now I know this was that the ship design was based on some of the sketches from the technical manuals that came out in the 60s and 70s, the TOS style. Because I know you also had the Saladin was in the background of one of the shots at the space dock, and you used a lot of varieties of ships like that. How much of what the final Dreadnought looked like was based on those classic drawings, and how much was you guys taking those classic drawings as a starting point and just adding to it?
Well, we had a very talented renderer, Ken Thompson, and he used the actual drawings from the Franz Joseph technical manuals to do that render. So as far as I know, all of that was exactly the way that Franz Joseph meant it to be from the technical manual. So we didn't take any creative license. And then Frank Parker, he related that he even contacted the family of Franz Joseph and got permission to use the Dreadnought in our production. And I think they even credited him at the end of a Dreadnought Dominion. And then the Saladin, that Ken Thompson, he has a fan film called the Starship Saladin, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. So that's why that was there. And then we threw the Farragut in there as a nod to where they gave us our start. But yeah, the Dreadnought, that totally came from the technical manual.
Oh, okay, cool. Because I see stuff like I don't have the money to buy an old technical manual like that. I'm just a poor tricky down on his luck. But I do like the design. It's pretty neat. You don't see many of those dreadnought style ships these days, and it's just interesting to get good looks at it. And do you guys ever sit around and talk tech and try to figure out why there's 4 deflector dishes and try to come up with explanations, or is it just the ship doesn't matter, it's about the story, so we're just going to roll with it?
Yeah, basically the latter. I mean, it's something different. Frank Parker, he chose the Dominion because we wanted to be different. And matter of fact, we go back to our Star Trek fan club, Starfleet, and our chapter was the Dominion. It was the Dreadnought. So that was really what motivated him to make the fan film about a Dreadnought. And we also decided to go against Starship Dominion because that seemed to be the vein that everybody was going for on their fan films. So again, we were just trying to set out and be a little bit different. So that's why the production was Dreadnought Dominion, and just using a different style ship. The interiors are all the same basically, because I think I've even read that the bridge could be plug and play. So you just take that bridge module out and just put a different module in. So that's why we had the same Constitution type bridge.
Cool. Yeah, it's a very smart design. I remember finding it because I was just looking for something different for fan films, and I saw the title and I was like, oh, Dreadnought Dominion, they're doing a DS9 story. I haven't seen a DS9 fan film.
And surprise!
And it was a very pleasant surprise, let me tell you.
Oh, thank you. We all had a great time. None of us knew what we were doing, and it was our director for Anchors Away was Mike Bednar, who plays the XO and Starship Farragut, the most patient man in the universe, because he took all these newbies and not only was patient with us, but coaxed us and got the performance that you got. So it wasn't Academy Award, but we just had a great time. I think the directors of fan films, they don't get enough credit because the actors have to be on stage and they have to know their lines, but the director has to know the vision of the writer, know what needs to come out of that camera, and has to coax the performances out of the performers. So Mike Bednar for Anchors Away and Scotty Whitehurst was our director for Haunted. Again, the director has to be on set for every single take. Without those two gentlemen, we would never have what we have. And they set the tone for when I direct myself, because now Randy and I, we just have ourselves. So we just think, what would Michael do? What would Scotty do? And so we just take our cues from them for our directorial ability.
Are you aiming to do more of the directing yourself, or are you happy just writing the stories and acting in them?
I like producing, so we'll have a director for the next ones, but I'm sure I'll have input on that. And Randy's the writer. I will massage his writing sometimes and say, hey, I think Bristow would say it this way because that's how Gary would say it. That's how I would say it. But I'm happy with the acting and the post production and the producing, coming up with the ideas. The next Dreadnought Dominion episode was my idea, and which was great, coming up with the concept. And but the actual directing, I will leave that to people that can do it better than me.
Okay. So now I've confused myself again at some point. I thought you were the one who wrote Haunted.
I wrote the original story, Who Haunts This Ship, and then Randy Wren took my story and he turned it into the script called Haunted. Okay. So I leave all the writing to Randy. Now the Excalibur logs that I'm doing, called Haunting, that's totally my story, from start to finish. But Randy, he does all the writing for Dreadnought Dominion.
All right, that's my only interruption for now. I'm sure I'll come up with something more later.
So I just want to say that what I really like about your audio dramas is that you have the illustrations. That seems to be kind of unique. I haven't really seen a whole lot like that, and it's pretty cool to have that visual component.
Right. I see a lot of audio dramas that last 45 minutes to an hour, and I'm sure that most of them are intending to listen to it in the car or listen to headphones while you're jogging. But I'm a computer guy. I'm a visual guy. I like to sit at my computer and do this kind of stuff. So that's what inspired me to do these, and that's why we call them illustrated audio drama. So that we want folks to watch these on television, download them to their big screen TV. So we watch them on our big screen TV and go, oh, that's terrible, we need to change this. And oh, you could see that little error right over there. So I obsess, and that's why it's taken me a year to finish this Excalibur logs. I'm like half through, and redraw this and render that. And Randy kids me. He says, you'll spend 8 hours on 5 seconds of footage. And I go, but it's those 5 seconds that you string along the illustrated audio production that make it worthwhile. Mm-hmm. And it'll hold people's attention and get them through the hour that we're asking that they invest their time. Because we're not asking them to pay money. We're not asking for accolades. We want them to watch the whole thing and then just give an opinion on it. Mm-hmm. That's our payment, is to entertain people.
So how have the guidelines impacted your productions?
Well, time-wise, the original concept of episode 3 was going to be a 40-minute episode. So that, of course, put a kink in that plan. And then it did delay production quite a long time because at first people were just afraid to be involved in a fan production. One of our characters, he even told me, he says, I'm hesitant to being involved in something that could be litigated. That was at the point where we didn't understand why CBS was suing Axonar, and we thought that if you had any violation of the guidelines, you were going to get called to the carpet. So after Star Trek News was able to continue, and then we realized that they're guidelines. We're not going to be hauled into court for buying a shirt overseas instead of buying it from a Novos, which I did buy. I had to buy a Novos shirt just to say I got one. So it's awesome to wear that. And but we still have our other handmade stuff, because the guidelines said that you can do that, but if please use actual. What am I trying to say? Things that
the licensed,
licensed products. So I did. So I went out and got me a captain shirt, and that's licensed. And then our props are from Playmates and the other provider, Diamond Select, or I think that's what it's called. But we do our best. But the biggest guideline impact would be the running time.
Yeah.
So we just decided to take our 40-minute episode and pare it down to two distinct parts, which coincidentally the story did follow something on the ship and followed something on the planet side. So we were going to run those stories in tandem, like real shows do. Shows bounce back and forth between two action points. So we just cut those up, and we'll just make those two separate adventures. But other than the delay and the people being very hesitant about being involved in fan films and the timelines, very little has changed. But I'm hoping we can bring Dreadnought Dominion home, because we like to close out the story with that third episode.
Mm-hmm. Shall we move on to answering the question of the week?
Sure.
All right. So the question was, who taught Trip Tucker how to dance the two-step? So was it A, his brother, B, no, not a dog bark, B, his sister Elizabeth, C, his Aunt Millie, or D, an ancestor of Beverly Crusher? What do you think, Gary?
I'm going to go with his sister. That's my gut.
All right. How about you, Bill?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing, and I think I even remember the episode where they told us about it.
Well, Steve Atwell is a tricky guy. That's who wrote this question. It's actually his brother. And this is from the Enterprise episode Fusion. Yeah, it's tricky. We do. He does talk about his sister Elizabeth, and he does mention his brother, who doesn't have a name in the series. But yeah, it's his brother that taught him the two-step. So,
wow.
Sorry, guys.
Goddess.
That's two in a row that I've gotten wrong here.
Yeah,
I think after three, I'm fired.
So I have a bonus follow-up question. You ready for it?
Sure.
All right. So which relative of Trip's died during the Xindi attack on Earth?
That was his sister.
That was his sister, yes.
Yep. Yeah, that was his sister Elizabeth, as seen in The Expanse.
That's what I was thinking, was that was the one, because I remember him grieving over her, and I could have sworn he said something like she was the one that taught me how to two-step or something like that. But he was talking about why he missed her and how close he was and all that good stuff.
Yeah, it's tricky. Bill, did you want to do your lightning round? I totally forgot. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure. All right, first question. What's cooler, Spock's beard or Riker's beard?
Spock's beard.
Alrighty. If Kirk had a tattoo, what would it say?
Oh, goodness. I'm drawing a complete blank.
All right. Was there any fine print on your tattoo when you were in Mirror Universe?
No, it was just a cool design. Yeah.
You didn't put like a hidden message on it or something, like really, really fine print? Objects in Mirror are eviler than they appear or something?
I'll have to remember that one. Yes.
All right. How many, if you were to redesign a more powerful dreadnought, how many nacelles would you put on it?
Oh, three's enough. Yeah. Four would be a pain.
You wouldn't go for a four-banger?
Oh no, that's just one more thing you have to take care of when you break down.
Yeah. If you got split in two by a transporter accident the way Kirk did, would you go? How would you be split? Would it be good and evil, or would it be one who likes Star Trek and the other one who likes Star Wars? What would your weird split be if you were in Kirk's transporter accident?
Oh goodness, probably one that's a neat freak and one that's a slob, and I'd be the slob. That way, my wife couldn't complain.
Because you like TOS. Did you enjoy the remake movies from 2009 at all, or no?
Yeah, I did. Again, I don't subscribe to it has to be like the original series. So it's a different Star Trek, but it's still Star Trek. But yeah, I really enjoyed those, and I hope they make some more.
All right, so here's the last lightning round question, and now that I cleared that up, and I should have asked that earlier, I'm sorry. If you had to drive one of Kirk's cars, would you drive the 1930s Roadster from a piece of the action, or would you want to drive the classic Mustang?
Oh, the classic Mustang for sure.
And I'm sure some car guy says it was a 1966 as an homage to the series, and it was a 1937 Studebaker Deluxe XL something or other. Because guys know their cars, and I don't know from cars. They got four wheels and an engine. All right, well, that's the lightning round for you.
So, Gary, of the three,
Yeah.
the three alternate universe movies, the three Kelvin universe movies, which one's your favorite?
Of the Kelvin universe, I really like Beyond, the latest one.
Yeah.
I know it was they destroyed the Enterprise again, but again
For
but,
real this time.
I really like that. I think that the character Kirk is growing and more to be like our Kirk.
Mm-hmm.
He goes through a lot, but I really enjoyed seeing his progression through the movie. So yeah, Beyond was the best one I think so far.
Which one's your favorite character of the three films?
The three films, I'd have to go with Kirk again. Oh, I take that back. I want McCoy. McCoy's a favorite. Okay, I take it back. McCoy. McCoy is my favorite, especially when he was talking about Spock in the breakup, and he says, if it's a breakup, it's always you. And he that's you on the show. It's always you. So McCoy is my favorite.
If you saw the Dominion in the Kelvin universe, what do you think it would look like?
Oh goodness gracious! I've seen renders of what people would think that would be, and just the Enterprise with those engines are just something else. Two of them are bad enough, so three of them is like wow. So I would say yeah, cool, but I wouldn't be as enthused as a Franz Joseph classic Dreadnought.
Yeah, those engines. I mean, I like the bigger engine. I don't like the tail fin that kept getting bigger each movie.
Yes.
But I like the bigger engine. It was kind of a thing where you look at it and it's like, I know there's no sound in space, but those engines are so big, if you step on the gas, you'd hear them roar.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness, yes.
And how does Into Darkness compare with The Wrath of Khan?
It's the same yet different. Into Darkness was really interesting, especially with the flipping of the death scene.
Yeah.
It was interesting. But Ricardo Montalban is Khan, so it was hard to watch Cumberbatch in that role.
He's a great actor, though.
Oh gosh, yes.
Yeah, that's one that always
it was tough
leaves
seeing
me
him.
kind of dodgy on that one. I'm really not sure who's the better Khan, because I mean, classic Khan was written kind of just one dimensional, one directional, very not much depth or substance or subtlety or nuance to him. And Ricardo Montalban took that and created a legendary icon out of it.
Mm-hmm.
The new Khan, they tried to make him complex. They gave him some good things, some bad things. He cares about his people. They tried to write him a little bit better. So I don't know. I mean, Cumberbatch is a good actor, but if you gave Cumberbatch a poorly written role, would he make it awesome the way Montalban did?
Mm-hmm. You could say he was complex.
Yeah, oh God, I could,
And
but I
then,
wouldn't.
and then I have another one. Oh wait, no, I just forgot it. Keep talking, I'll remember.
But that, I mean, it's like I know it hurts a lot of people's feelings because I mean, I agree. Star Trek II is one of the best movies, but Khan as a villain was kind of, you know, just a one-trick pony.
Yeah, you got to weigh the pros and the cons of it, huh?
Oh,
That was my other one. You're welcome.
and what's bad is I get the trivia questions wrong, so they're going to boot me off the show. You know, he's making puns like that, and they're going to give him a raise.
I can't complain.
Oh,
Oh,
Sorry.
I have to. I got to get back to my computer and click my icon.
Oh.
oh,
Well, with that, shall we close before
Yes,
this gets out of hand? I don't know how to make a pun out of that.
it's already out of hand. I really enjoyed this. This was a highlight of any morning I've had in the past couple weeks.
yeah, I am very concerned by all these puns you guys are making.
Oh my goodness. Well,
Look,
we enjoyed having you on.
Oh, thank you very much.
Anything to say, Bill? Any other puns?
no, I shouldn't even have made that one. Wait, give me some time. I'm mulling it over. I'll come up with something.
Oh my goodness. Thanks. You just made a pun off my
You guys
last
can
name.
just congratulate me on continuing with Dreadnought Dominion.
I
Yes.
was going to make a pun like that at the end. Well, Gary, we can't wait to see what you do next.
Oh, thank you so much.
So, Bill, would you like to take us out?
Thank you for listening for another convoluted episode
Oh my
of
God.
this confounded podcast. This has been The Final Frontier, a Trexsphere production. Special thanks to our guest, Gary Davis, for making some pretty awesome films, and we look forward to seeing the rest. You can find them on YouTube. Is there any other place? Do you have like a special website you have all your films gathered at, or is it just YouTube?
Yeah, we've got a website. It's dominionmedia.us, and that's got all of Dominion Media's offerings: Dreadnought Dominion, Excalibur Logs, Renegades, and we also have What Lies Beyond, which is an anthology series. It has nothing to do with Star Trek, and What Lies Beyond is total Randy Wren. So yeah, visit dominionmedia.us and see everything that we have.
Like and follow us on Facebook. Check us out on YouTube and in the iTunes store. Tune in to Gary Davis's stuff. He's got some good shows coming, and we look forward to seeing more of those. Remember, no matter where you go, there you are.